Former Vice President Dick Cheney is out with a very personal new book. It is aptly called Heart, and it details his 35-year battle with heart disease, including 5 heart attacks and a heart transplant just last year. Vice President Cheney, good to see you again.
It's good to be here, Savannah.
People know the broad outlines of your story. They've never seen it in this kind of detail, and it is very candid. You talk about being truly in the end stages of your life, facing death. What was that like?
Well, it was strangely peaceful. I'd always anticipated after I'd had that many years of heart disease that sooner or later time and technology would run out on me and that'd be the end of my days and I'd reach that point. And then the new technology came available, a pump that would support my heart and keep me going until I could get on the transplant list, and that's what happened.
You said that you had reconciled with death. I just wondered what that meant. Did you think about an afterlife, that kind of thing?
No, as I say, I was at peace with myself. It was not frightening. It's not painful at all. I just reached that point when I knew my time had come. And I was, but obviously all that's happened since then, I think the book itself is a story of hope, of what we can now do with respect to somebody with heart disease, things that were not available when I had my first heart attack in '78, that were developed over that period of time that saved my life.
Actually, one of the things your cardiologist writes about is some of this technology that ultimately led to the pump that kept you alive before you could have the transplant started in 1964 with government funding. So you could look at it as you're a living, breathing example of government investment.
Sure, but there's also the stent, which was developed by 2 docs who got together with an investor, came up with a stent, got the patent, sold it to Johnson & Johnson. It saved millions of lives. So that was private initiative. Government wasn't involved. So the other thing I guess I need to emphasize, talk about, is the donor. And it's so important. I wouldn't be here today without a donor and the donor's family, and we badly need to encourage people to become donors, and it's enormously important in terms of progress going forward.
You really open up your medical records, and one of the things we learned in the book is that back in 2000, of course, we now know there was a campaign doctor who looked at your heart and determined that you had normal cardiac function. This was as you were running for vice president. When we look now at your whole history, and your own doctor actually kind of disagreeing with that, was that a misleading assessment?
No, I just think it was he was in a hurry to get the job done. My doctor talked to Dr. Cooley, Denton Cooley, famous heart surgeon, great man, and after that conversation, he assured or then Governor Bush that I was up to the task of running and serving as vice president. That turned out to be true. Now, there's a debate over exactly what the status was at that time, but I think it worked out fine, obviously. I'm here.
Then again, you did take an extraordinary step, which was to sign a letter of resignation in the event that you became incapacitated, which suggests you were worried about this.
Well, somebody with my history, possibility of a major heart attack that would be incapacitating, or a stroke, was a possibility. Greater odds from that happening to me than somebody who didn't have my history. But I look back at Woodrow Wilson, who had a stroke 17 months before he left office, and that left 17 months. And the way the Constitution's set up now, we've made provision to replace a president if he gets sick, but there's no provision for replacing a vice president. And so I thought it was important to take care of that, so I signed the letter, gave it to Dave Addington, my aide, and said if a need ever arose, he should give it to the president. The president could then vacate the office with my resignation and pick a replacement.
There are amazing anecdotes in this book. I have to tell you, I'm a huge fan of the show Homeland. They had a plot line where the vice president had some kind of pacemaker and a terrorist detonated it, I guess, or used it wirelessly and caused the vice president to have a heart attack. When I saw that episode, I thought, that is really far-fetched, and you write in the book that this is exactly what your doctor was worried about when you had a pump like that.
Sure, and some years before the Homeland episode, I had to have a new implant of a defibrillator, and we disabled that piece of it, the ability to control it remotely, because of what we thought was a potential terrorist threat.
Was that your idea, or was it the doctor's idea?
The doctor's idea, but I was sensitive to it too. And of course, when you're in those situations, you become very sensitive about security, especially after 9/11.
Before I let you go, I have to ask you about life with a new heart. When we think about a heart being replaced, of course, it physically is replaced, but we always use the word heart to talk about something else, which is our hopes and dreams and our essence of who we are. How has your new heart changed you?
Well, I wake up every morning with a smile on my face, grateful for a day that I never thought I'd see. I've had the opportunity, obviously, now to do other things, write another book, spend time with my grandchildren. I've got a granddaughter who's a barrel racer. I drive the truck, haul the horse trailer and the horse to get her to her events. I've got time for that. I do a lot of fishing and hunting, a lot of... it's time that is, well, it's just very special because you realize it's a gift. It would not have happened except for the donor's family, a great surgical team, my family that supported me through all this.
You feel like you're in overtime?
Yes, I do. I really do.
Well, former Vice President Dick Cheney, thank you so much. This extraordinary book is called Heart. Appreciate it.